right, let's talk a little bit more about writing, or escribir, right? We can escribir con un bolígrafo or una pluma, or bolígrafo. We can also escribir con un lápiz, right? Lápiz. So lápiz, bolígrafo. Which one is this? Lápiz. Yes. Therefore, this is not a lápiz. Bolígrafo, or you could also call it a pluma. A pluma is kind of fun because they're birds, and birds have plumage. And so the root word of that is pluma, and pluma really means feather. And so when the first pens came about, right, many used feathers, and they would dip them into ink. And I actually have a couple at home. I really enjoy calligraphy, or just writing really pretty. So that's where the word pluma comes from. It comes from that idea of taking the feather, dipping it in ink, and then writing with it, right? Escribiendo. So we've got a pluma or bolígrafo, or lápiz. So when you write, and like I said, we're going to be having a notebook, having paper. So those who write by hand, they're better able to organize your notes. It leads to increased memory, right? So increased acquisition of the language. When we write by hand, it uses more brain power, and that's the whole point of school, right? Brain power. Writing by hand actually improves spelling. And so since we're acquiring a new language, when you write and when you guide, I'm going to guide a lot of writing, right? And so then you're going to focus on the orthography, that means the spelling of the word. When you write on your own, you also have to reflect and use metacognition of, how do I spell pluma? It's Pluma instead of PLO, or something different, right? So it makes you focus on how things are spelled. Writing by hand leads to better composition, right? So in some research, right, it was studied that if you write by hand, writers complete their assignments faster than typers. So we're not just going for expediency, but when you write, you often end up with more complete sentences, longer developed ideas, and that's going to be our goal, right? To continually challenge our skills, challenge our language capabilities to increase our proficiency. Writing longhand, as I said, it improves brain power. It also keeps the mind sharp because we have to use all of our motor skills, right? So the brain is telling us how to move and how to write the letter, and so there's that coordination going on. So it keeps our skills and our minds sharp. Students who write by hand, it has been proven they do better in school. Writing by hand allows you to be more creative. I do like writing on the computer, and one could argue that then I could always go back and I can edit, but our brain doesn't work in a linear fashion, right? So if you compare how you've written on a computer to what you've written on paper, the paper is messy. And that's what's happening in our brain. Like, we're trying to figure things out. We're trying to make sense of things. We're making connections. And so when we write by hand, it represents more the activity that's going on in our mind. When we write on a computer, it's very linear, and so we have to organize our thoughts maybe before we're ready. So it's great to write by hand. It requires more thinking. Writing by hand, it's just a better tool for me teaching you. It's a better tool for you to acquire the language. Writing, so escribir, en bolígrafo, or pluma, right, un lápiz, it exercises the right hemisphere of the brain, because it might seem like second nature to be writing, especially the farther we are from when we learned how to write, probably in kindergarten. But writing each letter is actually a simple form of art. It's artwork, right? So each letter is a unique design that we have to properly form. And so these designs create words. And then as we form letters and create words, then our right hemisphere of our brain, right? That's our artistic side of our brain, which uses, pictures, is activated. And so it doesn't seem to happen when we are writing on the computer. Paper, proper handwriting, not paper, and we're writing on paper, but proper handwriting techniques benefits the whole body. And so my fear in this virtual world, for myself as well as all of you, is what are we going to be doing a lot of? Sadly, not this, right? Not moving around much. What are we going to be doing most of the time? Sitting down. So when we write by hand, we have these benefits that happen in the whole body, right? We often focus on a better posture. We have to focus on a grip. With posture, we breathe better. We strengthen our shoulders, our elbows, our wrists, and our fingers. That helps us carry objects. It's just better. Because it gets all of our brain and muscles getting together. Oh, and the carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel with the computer, right? Because we're just doing all this typing or the clicking with the mouse. This is a different grip, right? A different grip. And so the computer is more unnatural, and the pencil is maybe a little bit more movement, so more natural. The finger movements necessary for writing by hand, they also light up the brain. See, all the stimuli to help us learn through writing on a piece of paper with a lápiz or a bolígrafo. Writing with a pencil on paper, it builds visual processing skills. Like I said, how it ignites that right portion of the brain where we store our pictures in our mind. Writing by hand is more effective for those of us who have dyslexia or issues with reading, even issues with spelling, because you are really focusing on those things. And it encourages your own personal style, you know what I mean? Like, you could do, like I said, you can have different colors, right? You can use different instruments. You can organize it as your brain is processing the language. Paper is not linked to Facebook or other distractions. It's just you, your mind, your bolígrafo, pluma or lápiz, your papel, mente, and you're focused, hopefully free from outside distractions. So we're going to be doing writing by hand.